Allison is what you would call an out-of-the-box chef. She prides herself on not being like the average chef who lives by the book. She likes to experiment with food and tries many different ways of using different ingredients. So today's cooking class is called Straight Out of the Garden. During this cooking class, Allison will be taking a few simple items from the garden and demonstrating quick ways you can prepare them or use them to create light, great meals. She welcomes suggestions or questions the audience may have on other ways to prepare them, or questions as we go along. So feel free to put comments in the chat and I will relay them to her throughout. The chat function is at the bottom of your screen. All right, welcome, Allison.
Hi, welcome. Hello, everyone. I can't hear everyone, but I'm assuming you're saying hi back. Okay. I just washed my hands. Oops, there, rip that. Give me 1 sec here. All right. I'm just going to wear gloves today for sanitary purposes. I mean, in your home, feel free as you like. So again, hi, my name is Chef Allison. Welcome to Straight Out of the Garden. Again, I've been cooking myself for about 20 plus years. It's in kind of in my veins. I like to describe myself. I come from a line of cooks and it's just my passion, my thing. People always ask, you know, what's the secret to my cooking? It's the love I put out. I believe when you love something, it shows in your work, in your food, and whatever your passion is. So then that's how you know if this is a thing for you. So today we're going to make 2 recipes, pretty simple. Again, my twist. Everyone has their own little geeks and twerks of how they do things, and I always welcome them because I like learning new things. So the first recipe, we're going to make an okra stew. Now, okra is a pretty touchy item for some people. It can be slimy, it's difficult. It's not 100% my favorite, but I do enjoy cooking and I like challenges. So for my pork, I like to cut off the ends. And as a preference, you can either like split it down, take the seeds out, that also aids in less sliminess, or you can simply slice in the way I'm about to show you. So this is, again, my take. So I, again, take all my veggies and I wash them. So again, I cut my ends off, so it'll then look like this. As you can see, there's a bit of slime already on my gloves here. So the way I'm showing you for today, you're just going to make small little slits as per this. So again, you can do that way, or the other way I showed you was cutting the ends off. You can make a small slice down the side and take that out with your finger. So then you're just pretty much left with the shell. And don't forget, compost, compost. So, here a second. So this is what it would look like if I emptied out the shell inside. So that's just skin pretty much. So again, it's a preference between either one you want to do. So for today, I've cut, and then I like to place them in a paper towel and pat dry them a bit and have them sit. So sometimes when you're doing quick meals, it may not be made that efficient, but this is what I do. I laid it out, so it's been sitting here for about 10 minutes, and then it's ready to go. So now I'm just gonna turn the stove on here. So again, everything is kind of at your preference. Everyone has different stove, different ranges. So for myself, I'm just gonna put it on, start it out at about a 6 or a little past medium. Once you know your stove, you know the temperature is the best place to get it started at. So another thing I make a choice with is whether I use oil or butter. It really doesn't matter. If you're trying to be a little bit more health conscious, you can use a little bit more butter, olive oil. Again, whichever is your preference. I find sometimes butter or, you know, whatever your replacement is, sometimes aids in the sauce and the taste. So we're just going to wait quickly here for this to warm up a bit. So I'm going to put about a tablespoon of butter for myself. In the meantime, you could be gathering your ingredients. So while I'm warming up that pan, so as I showed you, I have the okra pre-cut. Now again, when I do peppers, there's a choice. So I'll give you a brief snippet on how I do it. For this one, I'm going to use diced. Everyone has a preference. So I have diced and I got sliced. But for this recipe, I'm going to use diced. So for me, I find it easier, skin side down, and cut into strips. It's also good to cut skin side down because then you avoid trying to cut yourself. When you have it the next way, it can slide if your knife is not sharp enough. So I find it's better if you have skin side down. They don't have to be all the same. Nobody's a pro. And then you gather them up, do how many you feel comfortable with in your hand, and then just dice. Dice down. Here, that pan's getting ready. So is my towel. Okay, so simple as that. So I got these cut here. So again, this is a preference I like. If you like more slices, do it as per what sits well with you. So for my onions now, again, I got diced. But to show you how I do it, let me make sure that we're low here. So I like to cut it in half. And then I like to make slices. Some people can do them all the way through. Or I like to leave a little bit of a sleeve. That way it stays together and it's almost like a smile. Then you put one line down, doesn't have to be even, and then you go downwards. And then for the odd little end pieces, I just slice down, and if they're not the size or shape I want, then I just go across the other way. Again, I'm out of the box. Some other places, it's like, no, you got to do it like this. I just like being simple. So that's how I'm going to get these veggies. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting in my onions and peppers. If ever you got something on the stove and it's too hot, just pull it off. That will avoid burning or any other issues. So I got a melody of colors, orange, red, yellow. Again, preference. So also I have some garlic. Chopped garlic that I just do a couple drops. So for me, again, another tough one is seasoning. So far, this is what my pan looks like. I got all the colors. I wish you guys had smell-o-vision up there. So with spices, I find that one I lived by is Italiano. Some other stores is Italian Delight, just depends. So this is pretty much vegetables that are dehydrated and it's mixed with spices. Now, sometimes if you read the label, they do carry salt. So again, take it easy. Don't add extra or you'll run into a salty taste. So again, if somebody were to ask me, hey, how much do you put in? How much love do you want to give? You don't overdo it. But I would probably say about two teaspoons or half a tablespoon is what I do. So I like to give it levels. So I'll start by seasoning my peppers and onions, and then after afterwards, if I'm putting any sauces or anything, I make sure it's done there. So I'll zoom you in here. That's all it looks like, pretty simple. Next, I'm going to add in the okra that I have cut up here. It also depends on family size you're cooking for. If you're just trying to make for 2 or a large group, then it'll just depend on how many you want to make. Also, it'll depend on what you're pairing it with. So today I'm just doing a basic rice. You can use quinoa, whichever substitute you want to do. I'm just going to give that a stir. And then I'm going to give it a quick cover and have it sit while I finish the last portion of it. This one is fairly easy, so it doesn't take up very much time. So lastly, I'm going to, and make sure at this point, you can even turn it down a bit to lower, just because you just need it to steam and simmer. So for the last ingredient, it's going to be some cherry tomatoes. So if you've worked with this before, then you're aware this carries its own juice. So you just kind of slice it down the middle. Again, if you prefer it to be the other side, you can do that too. For this one, I'm just going to do it down the middle. Camera so you guys can get a better look here. Just as simple, and again, I wash everything. If you have a preference. So as you see, it doesn't take very long. You just do a quick slice down the middle. So I'm just going to do the last few here. And then I'm going to add them to the pan. So I like to, hear that? Nice sound. I like to add and change things. I'm one of those chefs. Sometimes we don't have cherry tomatoes. Sometimes we don't have certain things in our home. You can kind of substitute whichever you like. Regular tomatoes, Roma tomatoes. It really doesn't matter. Tomatoes are tomatoes. Canned tomatoes. Whatever you kind of have on the go at home. So this is where I'll add in a little bit more seasoning, a little bit more love, I call it. And again, as a preference for me, I don't tend to use a lot of salt. Salt boxes can last me months and months, almost a year in my house. Because this, and sometimes in the seasoning, you can see the salt itself. If I want, afterwards, I will do it. But when I'm cooking for individuals with allergies or special dietary needs, diabetics, you kind of got to leave that out. So another good one for that, if you have any health issues, is that Mrs. Dash. It is salt-free, but it has an amazing taste. So I kind of don't use one, I kind of use a variety. I'm also an advocate for bringing out these natural juices. So I'm just going to add a little bit of water. Just a little bit. Then we're going to let that marinate a bit. So now I have it on a low. That's where we're going to leave that. I'm just going to clear up here. It's best to clean as you go. So then I'm going to show you how I'm going to prepare this last bit. So again, for timing, I have pre-cooked some rice. So what I do is brown or white, basmati, doesn't matter, whichever one you choose. I do put it in a bowl and wash it, give it a quick wash. And then, because sometimes in those packages, there's little nuts, odds and ends of little remnants. So I like to wash any kind of rice. So you wash it and just add some water to it and cook it. It's usually 2 to 1 is the ratio for rice and water. 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water. So I just simply made some white rice. And this melody, pardon me, can even be made if you're making any Buddha bowls. So that's a bowl that has different vegetables and characteristics in it. You can add corn, and again, add anything you want. Nobody can take that away from you. So you can add any vegetable or bean if you're trying to stick to vegetarian, and add it to this, or you can add it to the rice, saute it with the rice, in seasoning, of course, and then put it all together. So this is some thyme. Thyme comes in every kind of shape, but this is the one I like using. I'm going to throw this in just for flavor. Fresh thyme. Again, if you have dried, if it's dried out, because sometimes when it sits on your counter or it's stove too long, it dries out, it's even better. You can just pick it off and you get it like this. Helen, do we want to have any questions while we're waiting before to plate that one? Or you want to save them all to the end?
We do have a couple questions. I may as well ask them as we go along. So the first one, the pepper, that was definitely a sweet pepper, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, sweet pepper. Yes, it was.
Yeah. And we just had a couple of gardening questions, actually, which I might be able to answer here. So is okra easy to grow in this zone 6? And actually, it's very easy to grow. The town of Oakville grew some at the Ercless Estates, which is just down at the corner of Navy and Lakeshore, just south of Lakeshore. And we've grown it in a couple of gardens with Halton Food. Have you grown it yourself?
No, I haven't. I haven't tried that one yet. It's a tricky one for me.
But at what stage do you, so I was having questions about when to harvest it, because it's not a vegetable that I'm terribly familiar with. So what size is that okra that you're using? Like, is that about 3 to 4 inches? Well, I guess we should metric. About 10 centimeters?
Has a bit of variety, you'd see.
Okay.
Got a little bit of thing, but yeah, about that. And what I find is, if you can correct me if I'm wrong here, if it's really light, it's not fully ripe yet, correct?
Okay, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, if it's a little bit more whitish looking than green, then it tends to be, or if it's really hard and you can't even bend it, it's not quite ripe yet.
Okay. And then people were wondering, you could probably throw some meat in there, right? Like chicken or shrimp.
Oh, of course, yeah. Whatever your preference is. Some people might do shrimp, chicken. I wouldn't say beef so much. I find the lighter meats work best. A Caribbean favorite is codfish or saltfish. You boil it down and it will go great in that.
And they just wanted clarification. What was the first spice you added? So not the Mrs. Dash, but the one that was in the larger container.
So this one is called Italian Delight or Italiano. Clubhouse is the one that usually makes Italiano, or they have a vegetable seasoning, they call it. It's literally called vegetable seasoning. They're both kind of the same, just different. One says Italiano, one says vegetable seasoning.
All right.
So, okay. I'm just going to shut my stove off now, bring it a bit closer. So as you see, I just got my simple bowl of rice. Again, you could add chickpeas if you're sticking vegetable, any other bean you like. Or as we said a minute ago, you can have meat. Again, totally your preference. Because I'm a bit more experienced, I can afford to hold the pot like this. It's not for everybody. If you feel better, please use an oven mitt or something to hold your pan, or simply scoop it out. Now, I find with thyme, it's a preference. And Some people leave it in, don't mind chewing on it, tastes amazing. Or some people take it out. But I find decoration sometimes it looks amazing. Now, also avocado. You can slice some avocado, eat it on the side, totally up to you. So this is my final project on my product on my okra stew. Smell-o-vision if you had it. But again, don't be afraid to quirk it, whatever you have. Your home, I sometimes like to have what I call out of the fridge. So I go and I look for whatever I got and see what I can create. It's kind of my fun thing to do at home with my kids. So I'm gonna have my sister assistant here taste it. She's making hand signals at me over here. She's like, yummy. So again, add in, take away as much as you like. So that is my finished product.
I have to say that looks just stunning. Like the colors in it look amazing.
Exactly. And I like that. That's my kind of thing when I like to see different colors, not just stick to green. Because you know, there is green peppers and stuff, but then it all looks kind of blah. I like it.
Smells amazing. Yeah.
There you go. She's rushing here. She's ready to take a bite. Okay, so I'm just gonna clear away this over here for a sec and get on to my second recipe. That means it got a pass, guys. It got a pass.
What else are you cooking?
Great sound effects.
Thank you.
Really good.
So, okay, for my second recipe, it's my spin again on chicken and cabbage. So this one I'm gonna add in a bit of the meat. So, just give me a sec here to clear up my mess. So again, for me, to alleviate waste, I like to use any portion of the pepper. So for me, I like to cut down my sides and then even the middle piece, I scoop it out. I love the bottom piece. I don't judge. So I slice them all the same. So for this recipe, I'm going to use some or slices, depending on who you ask. So switching my bowls over here. So here's my peppers again, onions, slices, my carrots, again, all things out of the simple garden. And I think my personal opinion, this pandemic has caused people to start to garden more and do things to try to take away from everything that's going on. So I think a lot more people are gardening and stepping outside of the box, etc. So for this recipe, I got a couple meat ideas. Here's my cabbage. Now, cabbage is also such a universal item. People make cabbage rolls, do all kinds of things. Cabbage you can use for a lot of things. You can, depending if you get a nice, good round size, you can peel them and that's how you make your cabbage rolls. Put your ingredients, whichever. So for every item today, I've pre-cut and then I have some to show you how I do it. So for this next one, it's going to be my spin on chicken and cabbage. So we'll do the vegetables first, and I'm going to switch out my board. This is very important to not cross-contaminate. So I'm just stepping away for a sec again to wash my hands. So for this one, I'm going to use my hands, and then when I go to the meat, I'm going to switch out to put gloves on then. So for my cabbage, I'm going to cut first. I personally like to cut a little sliver off because it can be used for so many things that I don't need the whole thing. So I just got a little piece here. And again, it's your preference. Make some space so you see. It's your preference on size, but do try to make them uniform because then they cook evenly. So again, if pieces are falling off, that's okay. Hold it down like this. Always please make sure to tuck your fingers. So find a knife always that feels comfortable in your hand. So I have two knives. This one I'm going to be using for my meat. Regular basic. Some of them have wider blades. Some of them, as you see the difference. Just find one that's comfortable in your hand. It doesn't need to feel heavy. You just need to have a good grip. And always tuck your fingers. So, and what you're going to end up doing is end up pushing. So as you move, you're going to end up pushing your hands back. So you can do big or little, you just kind of move your hands. This is a funny shape. So I can cut this one down the middle as well to get a good look. Then I let go of my fingers. So again, they don't have to be perfect. You can do triangles, you can do chunks, whichever works for you. Just try to make them all relatively the same, because then they'll cook the same. And you don't have to worry about some being a bit hard and some being not hard. So again, once you get to this portion that's all together, I tend to just run my knife down. And if I get any odds pieces slipping off, that's okay. Whenever you get to any vegetable and you don't feel comfortable with the side that's left, don't be afraid to turn it. So for me, you can turn it down on this side and then it doesn't move. And then I'm gonna try to secure it with my fingers and keep going. So you can keep switching around each time. And when you don't get comfortable again, switch it. So cabbage is a thing that if you have a good size, as you saw the piece I started out with, you can get a lot out of it. So I'll see how much I need, or if I want to add, because they do shrink. Once you're cooking, they do shrink. So this is what I've already got cut up here. So when I'm doing my slices now, so I just have a little half piece of pepper here. I cut it down the middle. If the piece is too big, if you want it longer pieces, sure. Or you can cut it down the half. And then I find with children, it's good to have a bit smaller pieces. I trick my kids sometimes. I know they're watching. I kind of cut them small so they don't recognize them. Then they don't even ask questions. I find when they're too big, they're like, Mom, what's this? Is this a pepper? Is this an onion? So I kind of sneak in foods this way. Yeah, Mommy still loves you. I do sneak vegetables. Or another trick, you can blend them. If your kids are really picky and they'll see it, just blend it all together. Your onions, your peppers, put a little bit of water and pour it into your sauce. They'll never know. So I'm just quickly making some slices here, just so you see. And again, your knife should always dance, per se. It should move up and down. Please always tuck your fingers. No matter what level or how long you've been cooking, you can get cut. And it's easier on sharper knives or newer knives. My sister's really downing this, the okra stew in the corner, giving me smiles. So, okay. So again, as you can see, these are my board. What I find is easier when I'm cooking. Once I have everything prepared on the board, it's easy to kind of go 1, 2, 3, especially for time's sake. Then you're not cutting one thing and going to do another, cutting one thing and doing another. So I personally like to get my whole board set up, have all my vegetables or meats or whatever prepared, and then just turn to the stove and get it all pumped out. If I am speaking too fast, please don't hesitate. When it's the question period, don't be afraid to ask. So again, these are my choices, my slices of onions. I'll just give you a quick show on the onions. Again, I half it. So for this one, I'm not cutting it down the middle or slicing it. I'm just going to keep it whole because this is a pretty small onion. If you have bigger onions, cut it in half and then cut it again. But because these ones I got are pretty small, I can just afford to cut straight down. And again, onion's a tricky one. So when you get to this portion of the onion, you lie it flat on the bigger piece and tuck your fingers. And then you drop the last skinny piece. That always ends up happening. And I just go along the line. As you know, onion has this little piece that holds it all together. Again, if you don't mind it, throw it in, less waste. But again, you saw the size of that little piece that I ended up with to waste. So that's awesome for saving. So there's my onions. So, and again, I have my chopped garlic. So a quick tip of how you can do it yourself if you don't buy it in the store. You can take garlic, cut them in small pieces, or if you like slices, because it doesn't really matter. Because once you take it out to cut it for your food, you can either cut it smaller if you need it, or generally it will disintegrate into your food and get smaller anyways. So me, I bought pre-diced garlic, and so I have it here. Doesn't matter the brand, they're all the same. And if you want to preserve it, you can just put oil with the garlic and you're good to go. It'll last a while. So here I have all of my vegetables ready to go. I'm going to swap my board. And please, the only advice I will give, when you have things that are like an onion, an oil base or something, please use clean spoons, because when you put dirty spoons in them, they're easier to go bad. So I'm just gonna grab some paper towel here. Wipe off the board. So now these are all my vegetables. I will be swapping my board quickly so you can see. Again, people have a preference. In the restaurant business, there's color codes. You know, red is usually for meat. They might have a special one for chicken. At home, you don't always have that luxury. I find if you go to Dollarama, they have small little boards and multiple colors. They're a good option. Now, if you want to buy big ones, just please make sure you're sanitizing properly. I find, and I'll show you in a minute, when I'm doing meats, I like to scrape my board to make sure that the remnants isn't stuck in between the cracks. So I'll just be swapping out for a minute here. I'm gonna rest this behind us. And I'm gonna use just this colored one for today. Another trick at home, you can take a towel or paper towel if it's a good one, wet it and put it underneath your board. That refrains it from being able to move. Because also when you're cutting, that's very important that you don't cut yourself. So when it's there, it stays and it kind of easier for you to cut things. So I'm also going to swap out my knives just for this segment. So let me go grab my gloves quickly. So again, for me personally, I don't eat pork. I don't eat a lot of beef. So I tend to stick to chicken, fish, salmon is my favorite. Or if I buy sausages, etc., it's turkey or something lighter. So again, for this recipe, by all means, feel to substitute whatever you got. If you like pork, if you like beef, sub it in, totally up to you. So my take on it, I'm gonna use chicken fillet pieces. You can use chicken with a bone, you can use thigh, legs, whatever you have. It doesn't have to be this. You just adjust the cooking time to accommodate whichever type you use. So for here, these are already not big pieces, you can see. I'm just probably going to cut it in about 3. So I get little chunks. So again, I've done a bit of cheating for time purposes. So I'm just showing you how to start from the raw, but I probably will be switching it over again. And in this case, because they are the fillets, they do not take long. So even if I did proceed with this, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. When you have bones or bigger pieces, you then have to adjust the cooking time. But again, I've cut them down into little pieces that they should not take very long at all. So again, a personal tip of my own, I wash all my meat. So you can use vinegar and water, a little bit of vinegar, maybe about a teaspoon or a tablespoon of vinegar mixed with water. You can use, now I would say only use this if you have a bit of moderation. You can use sea salt or salt, just a little bit, again, maybe about a teaspoon or not tablespoon, pardon me, a teaspoon of it, and add water. And all I do, if you do use the salt or vinegar, you just put them both in, put water, move your hands around, as I'll show you in a minute. So I'm simply just adding, I've added my vinegar and I add water. You see, you don't need a lot. And I'm just gonna go like this. Now personally, I believe, you know, when it's cut at the shops or wherever they're made, it's touched by many people and different knives. You don't know their situation, not to creep anybody out. But I'm just saying for personal reasons, and I wash all my meat. And then you can see the water's a bit cloudy, so that just gives you a bit of a take on making it a bit more cleaner, fresher per se. You can also use lime or lemon. You can cut them and you can drop them even with the skin on in the bowl with water, squeeze it, and then once you're finished, take them out. So again, when I'm using meats, I make sure to keep my area sanitized, don't cross-contaminate. I was wearing gloves, now I took them off. If you have another pair, you switch it out. So I've washed my meat, now I will begin to season it. So here's where I add my love as usual. Sorry, I had a bit more water in there. So a tip I find I like when I'm cooking is I like to add a bit of oil. So digging my garden, I may be out a bit. Now you can use olive oil, whichever your preference is. So I've been trying to cut back, so I've changed up what I've used. That's fine. So again, you can use butter, oil, olive oil, doesn't matter. But I find if you put a little bit of oil, or make sure there's a little bit of water, and you start to season, it tends to hold your meat better and not fall off. So here I am, just adding the Italiano again. So if you know, a lot of the spices have different lids. So one lid is open, that's if you're doing large quantities, you just kind of pour, and the other one has holes, a bit more reasonable for at home. And you can control, because the worst thing you want to do is not put enough. And again, you can substitute with any other spice you like, Cajun, whichever. So because I'm only going to be mixing, I'm going to just put rub on one hand. And you just mixed. And beware, because I feel that tingle in my nose, is when you put spices, they tend to go up in your nose, especially black pepper. So step away, step away from your whole area, sneeze in your arm, you know, similar to COVID rules. So again, that is what the finished product looks like. Now, if you have time, you could prep it the night before. The longer it stays marinated, the better it can taste. But I find sometimes with that little trick of putting a bit of oil, it helps with the flavor. If you, in case you don't have all day, or you did not put it to season the night before. So again, just giving myself a quick hand wash here. Put soap in your hand. Rub your hands together. If you have nails or not, go like this on each hand, so we'll get any remnants from underneath. Because you're at home, you don't have to worry about not touching the tap. You know, out in public you do, but at home you know what you're working with. So then I just quickly give my hands a dry, and I put this to the side. So now I'm going to turn that stove back on that I had. Depending on your stove, you know how quick it takes. And so I'm going to turn mine up a bit higher because I want that pan to be hot. When your pan is the right temperature, things go a lot quicker. But again, you got to know your stove and what works and how it works best. So just gauge it. So for time, I'm going to speed this up a bit. And again, no pressure. I also have some turkey sausages you can cut and use it in place of chicken, totally up to you. So I already feel some heat coming here. For myself, again, I'm just gonna use a little bit of butter. Again, olive oil or coconut oil are great substitutes. As you see, it's not a lot. Just about a tablespoon. So as that quickly warms up, now I'm going to put the final products together. So now all my mise en place, or everything is ready. You can. So this vegetable I had on the side, and I'll just show you quickly. Again, you don't have to do it. It's called Napa. It has a lot of, or sorry, bok choy. A lot of different names. There's a lot of different sizes, different colors. I personally, mine's a baby one, a baby bok choy. I like it. I find that when I'm trying to do a vegetarian item, it's quick, good for flavor. A little bit of waste. When I'm in the mood for my sides at home, I sometimes just do peppers, onions, carrots, just for my sides at dinner, for a lighter taste. So of course, you know, you peel your carrots. I like to shred mine. It's a cheat. So when I use my grater, it comes out like this, comes out in different sizes. So as you hear, that pan is ready to go. Do what feels comfortable to you. Bring it close to you, take your board over. You got to hear that sound when you're starting. So I like to first do my peppers and onions and kind of everything I do. You do which things cook the longest or fastest. Generally, if you're using things like carrots and other things, it's best to do the things that take a bit of time first, and then add in the ones that take a little bit less. So I got my peppers, onions in there. We're going to start it with that. When it comes to vegetables, I season it also in levels. So for flavor, I'm going to add my chicken in right now. So I swapped over to my pieces that I cooked already. So now is when, because it's chicken and it cooks fast, I would add it in now with the peppers and onions. So by the time that's done and I'm ready to add my cabbage, very little turnover time. When you're using things with bones, it might take a bit longer, so do them first. So when you add in your oil or your butter, put your meat in, your legs, whichever size, whatever, and then pan sear them first. Get a good color on each side, flip it, get a little bit more color, and then add your veggies. And then it'll simmer out, and then you'll almost have the taste of the meat mixed with the vegetables. So as you can see, that's what it looks like so far. And then I'm going to go and add my lighter veg. So this is where I'm going to add my bok choy and my cabbage. Now, if you're trying to go light, you don't have to do rice. You can eat it just like this. Sometimes I just feel like eating it just like this. No rice, no nothing. You can do it with salad, totally your preference. So now once I put the cabbage in, I'm going to add more love, more seasoning. So again, Mrs. Batch is awesome. What I used to cook for my grandma. Never eaten that light salt, so that I found is a great one. Another one is an all natural, all purpose. This is by Pure Running. Again, all brands have the same thing. It's just natural dry herbs, thyme, oregano, everything mixed in. Then my carrots. Again, because these are pre-done, not going to take as long. So then you just give it a turn. And generally when you put your cabbage in, they tend to spring a lot of water. So you don't have to add too much, pardon me, have a dry throat. I'm just going to add a little bit of water. gonna help pick up the flavors in each of my vegetables and come together. And now if you add a bit more butter, again, maybe a little teaspoon, just a little bit. I find sometimes it aids in the sauce. Takes a bit of flavor. Do not go crazy with it. It's still health conscious. And then I'm just gonna have this steam down for a bit. And then yeah, I'm gonna clear up. So another one you can add in straight out of the garden. The last one I'm gonna quickly talk about is Callaloo. This is pretty simple in the garden. Maybe these ladies can tell you. Once you got this going, you kind of gotta pick this every couple days. They spring up, you gotta pick them, and then they keep going. And generally, when the season starts to change and it dies out, you can kind of just dig, and then it'll pick back up, or you replant it.
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna just interrupt for a second. Your volume went all funny.
Can you hear me now? Are we good?
No, it's very tinny and far away.
Tell me if it gets any better. Can you hear me better now?
No, I don't know what happened. It was like perfect before, and then all of a sudden it's sounding like you're 3 rooms away.
Is that better now? Can you hear me again?
Not quite.
What's happening? We didn't even touch it. That's strange. Maybe you try muting it up.
And then how do you unmute it?
Press the screen again.
Wait, there.
Right here.
That's working.
You sounded okay the last time, Allison. Talk now? Nope.
Oh, now we're muted altogether. Now we can't hear you at all.
Unmute.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. It was saying that it wasn't allowing me to unmute. Okay. So again, during my time, get all that smoke in. So another one, Callaloo, like I said, is a good one. However, sometimes it does come when you purchase it or grow it with heavy stalks. People tend to describe it, Caribbean people, we like to skin it. So if you take your knife, now again, use a smaller knife if you feel comfortable. I'm a bit more comfortable with this one. So you just kind of and there's no real sizing. You kind of want to slice it till you see almost a bit white or the greenish. It's not a big thing. You see it's a bit slivered, but you skin it. Because sometimes it tends to be bitter or hard. So if you do it, you'll end up peeling it. And again, I have my stove at about medium to high. Again, it depends, or number 5 or 6 if you have numbers. Do what you're comfortable with at your stove level. So now I'm just having it steam. So yeah, as you pick it, you'll end up with the finished product looking like this. Looks a bit funny, but your mouth will thank you. So you peel it, and then you're able to cut it into pieces like this for you to saute. So for some, they may call it the wax of it, skin, whichever, but then you cut it and then it's easier to have. So again, for camera purposes, I've already pre-cut some. You can add it in as well. Also a choice. What if you're just going for awesome vegetable medley, it's good to do. Yes, again, I wish there was smell-o-vision. It's 2022. Don't be surprised if it comes out. So again, awesome color with all the yellow, orange, yellow, green. Just looks like this. So for me personally, I would eat this by itself. If you're trying to make a bowl, again, you can use quinoa, whatever your thing is, or rice. So that's what I'm going to use. So as I get ready, Just use a little bit, because again, I told you I feel good with it just by itself. You don't have to put rice. It could just be it by itself. For me, it's good. So if you're ever going to make a bowl, you put your base, rice, couscous, whichever, and then just put sections. Kind of looks colorful. So you can put your vegetables, your fruit, your beets, your avocado, whatever is your choice. So this you're going to probably cook for about 10 minutes or so. Again, if you're starting with raw meat, add in your time for your meat to cook. Don't forget, shut your stove off. So at any point, you can have a clean fork, take a piece, put it on the side and taste it, or never put the spoon to your mouth, put it back. Sanitation, sanitation. Take a spoon, fork, put it on the side. Again, you can leave it or not. That's just what I've put on for today. Let me just grab a spoon and fork to move it around here. Again, what works for you, do it. So for this, I love this. It looks full of veggies. So again, this one, I have cabbage, peppers, onions, thyme, callaloo, baby bok choy. So again, that's done. Oops, dropping meat, jumping out the party. So now I'm going to turn this segment over for questions or anything, opening the floor. So this is my final chicken and cabbage. Again, can be substituted for anything you got, just vegetables, no meat, you can add beans, your choice, your way, whatever you feel like, or you want to use up around home. So again, passing it over to my camera helper who's eagerly sitting there. But by all means, I just want to open the floor and ask for any questions.
Sure. So remember to put your questions in the chat function, the functions at the bottom. So we're having a lot of discussion about callaloo. Is it something you can eat raw, or does it always have to be cooked?
That's a good question. I feel, I feel like it.
What do I do?
Sorry, I lost you guys there. Tell me.
Am I fired?
Get your food taken away.
Yes, her food is taken away. Bottom one.
I don't get Samsung. Okay,
Swipe.
swipe. Okay, all right.
Okay, now I see it. For me personally, I feel it should be cooked. Again, it's your own choice if you don't. And again, another one is callaloo could be subbed for spinach, which then you can eat raw.
Mhm.
Spinach is a good, they're same family. To me, they're the same. But one I find tastes better raw and one doesn't. So totally your choice or your option. What's next here?
Yeah, I'm just going through this. Yeah, a lot of people think it looks absolutely delicious, which it absolutely does.
It tastes delicious.
Press close there for me.
Oh, wait, where?
She's piling it down there. Let's close the corner there. Okay, great, we're back. So again, I like to improvise with kids. It's a bit tough to pick. And when you want them to eat healthier and they don't want to, yes, children who are watching, I sneak it in. So don't be afraid to blend it. For instance, for this recipe, if you blend up peppers, onions, tomatoes, whatever, they tend not to see it. They think it's tomato sauce. So I have to change it now that they know my secret. But all the vegetables in, they're sauces. You sneak it in. Pasta, spaghetti, they never know. So again, she saved me some. Here are the two meals. So yeah, any further questions?
Yeah, we have another growing question about Callaloo. Yep, you can absolutely grow it in the garden, anywhere.
Your
Uh,
backyard doesn't have to be in a special
Yeah.
special area, and it grows pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Like every 2 to 3 days, correct me if I'm wrong, you should probably pick it if it's growing up. Yeah.
Yeah, and grows well in container gardens, as Andrea has mentioned, absolutely. So
Mhm.
one thing somebody had messaged me about, which is such a good idea. So she has something called Hodgepodge. So that's when you take, when you're thinning vegetables in the garden. So, you know, when you planted them too close together and you need to remove some so that the other ones have room to get even bigger, use those in your dishes, which I think is such a great idea, where it prevents that food waste, just kind of adding it to dishes. That'd be great to add here, actually. Yeah, like these, like I love how you just have taken a bit of this, a bit of that. And I always
Yeah.
admire chefs from doing that, because I'm somebody who absolutely like, here's the book, here's, we're out of cabbage, what are we gonna do?
That's how you kind of teach yourself. You can look in a book, don't be ashamed by it. I look in a book. I've been cooking for 20 plus years, and I'm not a pro baker. I'm now learning. COVID's taught me a lot about baking. So it's amazing to see how it's done first, and then you can go and spin it. So you go look at the recipe, follow it to the T, and then say, hey, maybe I'll add in this, maybe I'll add in this, maybe I'll add in this. There's no shame in it, no harm. So it's hard to be like a teaspoon or that. I put this love, and you'll kind of know when to stop. You don't want it like overbearingly seasoned, right? Something as mild as this can be amazing. Just really depends. If you want to change the flavor, add some barbecue sauce to your marinade. Another little cheat I like to do, orange juice or apple are my secrets for anything meats.
Yeah.
If you're ever making turkey, the biggest issue with turkey is it's dry. All my meats, whole chicken, turkeys, I put orange juice. So once it's seasoned, I put a little bit of orange juice inside of it and around the pan, so that when you're basting, all that goes in there, it turns into your sauce. So, and it makes it fall off the bone. Totally soft. If you don't have orange, do apple. Also, another one, if you're doing pork, ginger ale. Ginger ale breaks down the pork and makes it softer. So kind of just put your love. Spin as, find your choice. If it's Mrs. Dash or Italiano, these can be found in your grocery store. Costco sells Mrs. Dash, grocery store, everywhere. So they're not hard to find items. If you have your special mix, whether you like it spicy, add Cajun. You like it spicy, add Scotch bonnet. Another thing that can be grown in your garden. Or, you know, Caribbean call it Myri peppers, smaller ones. Another option for you to do. So if you're trying to stick to straight out of the garden, there's amazing peppers, onions that can add flavor, amazing flavor in your food. I want to take a minute to say my helper over here is going in on this food, so pardon my laughing at the camera. I want to take this time to thank you guys for all joining me. This is an amazing experience. Please, 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 it's so much better for you to eat out of the garden. Have your own, make your own. And with all the uncertainties happening with demand, why not? If you have that space, or you make your at-home one on your balcony, whichever one, let's try to garden and do better for ourselves. It tastes so much better. So thank you for tuning in. Chef Allison is saying bye for now, and take care.
Well, thank you for joining us. This has been absolutely wonderful having you on here, and I have learned so much. Like, I'm definitely going to try some of these recipes. They look absolutely stunning, just stunning with the colors. And it apparently it's being devoured.
She's showing the remnants of what's left. If you want to find me, I do have my own catering company called True Soul. So True Soul 22 on Instagram. If you're there, I will tag you Halton Garden Week, so you could add me there. Feel free to reach out. Any questions?
Perfect. And yeah, if you forget to tag me, send me that link and I'll add it when I add the recording to the website so people can find you.
For sure. True Soul 22. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everybody. And I hope you can join us again tomorrow morning. We start with yoga at 9:30 and then another full day of wonderful gardening talks. So we'll see everybody tomorrow. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yay, bye.
Bye.
I don't know.